Greetings, my fellow decrepit invalids and other sick people. I hope you're doing well today and that you're fighting the good fight. So I had the opportunity last week to go on a rest retreat with some family, and I will talk about what exactly that means and what I did while I was there in just a moment. But before we get to that, I just want to say if you watch the content that we create on this channel and enjoy it in any capacity, I would ask that you would simply give a smack to that like button, a ring a ding ding to that notification bell, and maybe even consider subscribing and sharing the content with your family and friends. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I also want to get into the habit of having a quick disclaimer at the beginning of the video. The disclaimer being that I am not a medical professional in any capacity, and any of the advice or techniques that I present in my videos should not be taken as medical advice. You should always seek help from your doctor and other medical professionals first and foremost, and take their word far above my own. I am just simply one guy who is trying to go on a personal health journey and recover from my illness, and hope to encourage other people along the way. So with that out of the way, let's get going. So first and foremost, you might be wondering, what is a rest retreat? Now, it's really just a couple of words I threw together, and I'm sure that a lot of people have a lot of different definitions for it, but essentially what a rest retreat is, in my mind, is simply an opportunity to get away from the normal hustle bustle of our everyday on the go routines and try to have a little bit of intentional time of rest and recovery. I had the opportunity this last week to be able to do that for about 5 days. Went to a family member's house. They graciously hosted me, and they have a little bit of property kind of out in the woods a little bit, and I got to enjoy some time with them. And they pretty much gave me free reign of their house to do whatever I needed to do to rest. So I'll get into a little bit about what I did while I was there, but that's kind of what I defined it as. Like I said, I was there for 5 days. Now, a big question too is, why did I do it? So, to those of you who have been following this channel, you probably know that I've been battling with chronic fatigue for a little over a year and a half now, and I'm still trying to fight my way through that. I feel like I'm continuing to get more tools in my toolbox and find more ways to stabilize myself and gradually get more and more pieces of my life back. So, the rest retreat is kind of an experiment I have wanted to try for probably about a year. In my mind, what I envision is having a week to go to like some kind of camp or like a cabin in the woods, have a personal doctor, personal chef, and uh, do cold baths, massage, eat super healthy, anything and everything you could do to try and boost your health. I think a lot of us could benefit from that, obviously, but it's not a very realistic possibility. So we did the closest I could get to that with my family, stay at their house. I had a pretty strict regiment every day of what I was going to do and things I was going to do to try and uh, be healthy. I don't know. I think I really enjoyed it. I was grateful for the opportunity to do it. How about we just get into my schedule and then we'll go from there? So I will have a picture over here somewhere of my schedule, but I'm just going to kind of go through it fairly quickly just to kind of give you an example of what I did while I was there. So for me, I woke up at 7 in the morning. I read my Bible and I had some screen time. I had some really strong screen time limits while I was there. In the morning, my cousin and we do a Bible study. And so we'll do our reading and then we have some like questions to answer after we read it. So in the morning, I used my phone during that one period, and then I put it down by 7:40 a.m. 7:45, I did a cold bath every day, and it wasn't an ice bath, but it was as cold as the water would go, and it was still pretty hard, but I did it every day. And then at 8 a.m., I would skip breakfast for the time I was there, and I would just have tea in the morning. And I was skipping breakfast so that every day between dinner and lunchtime, I would have roughly an 18-hour fast. So I would do that every day. 8 a.m., I'd get ready. 8:15, I would do 15 minutes of slow, deep breathing. And while I was doing that, I would also put on a sleep mask and some headphones and do what my doctor calls true rest to try and cut out all stimulation for a little bit of time. So did that. 9 a.m. I had some prayer time. At 9:20, I did about 20 minutes of stretching every single day. 10 a.m. I went for a walk. Now I will say the walking, I think because I had less on my plate while I was there, I felt like I was able to walk a little bit farther. And that was encouraging because I felt like I have the ability to walk farther given the right circumstances. I didn't measure how far it was, but I'm guessing a little over half a mile. Nothing crazy. For me, that's kind of about my limit right now. So that was 10 a.m. At 10:30, I'd come back from my walk and I would do a self massage with a lacrosse ball, and I'd use some icy hot with that as well. I had a chiropractor when I was probably about 20 years old to give me a lacrosse ball, and he recommended using that on all your sore muscles, and so I've been doing that ever since, and I use that as a way to just kind of loosen things up. After that, at 11 a.m., I would have some time outside, and I would usually try to read during that time. At noon, we would have lunch. Now, the family members I was staying with, they did a great job of helping me eat really healthy while I was there. I only ate lunch and dinner, and everything for that week was, I think, pretty much all gluten free. We were just kind of trying that out a little bit. Lots of fruits and vegetables, uh, chicken, salmon, things like that. They fed me really good, so I was very blessed and grateful for that. And then between roughly 1 p.m. and 3:30 p.m., I would have a nap. Now that was not because it was a luxury thing. Because of my chronic fatigue, I have a daily nap that is a necessity still. I feel like my nap window is slowly shrinking, which is encouraging, but I'm definitely still at a point where I need it pretty much every day. So that was not a luxury item. That is a normal, everyday Ryan thing. That's been normal for the last year and a half. And then usually around 4 p.m., I'd go outside and do some grounding, just simply put my feet in the grass and enjoy the fresh air. And grounding or earthing is still kind of something I'm trying to understand how I feel about it. I've been doing it more regularly for a few months now, and technically speaking, I have improved a little bit over the last few months. I just don't know that I can necessarily attribute it to that because I've also been doing other things as well. Then basically between around 4:20 and 6, I'm either helping with dinner or eating dinner. And then at 6:30 p.m., I'd go do some journaling. That one did end up getting moved around a little bit throughout the day depending on what I was doing. At 7 p.m., I would do the hot tub. That way I was getting the cold water in the cold bath in the morning and the hot water in the evening to try and get both sides of it. And then at 7:45, my screen time would begin again. I'd be able to call my wife and talk to my kids, and then it would end. And right before bed, I would do some prayer and then go to bed. That was kind of my schedule for the rest retreat. I did that for 4 full days, and then I kind of had 2 half days on each side of that. So that was kind of what my time looked like. So if anyone watching this is trying to find a way to get a rest retreat in, you could take some ideas off of this and kind of build your own little schedule for good ways to find rest. So now let's talk about some of the observations I made over the week while I did this. So right off the bat, with no screen time, one of the big things I noticed was there's a lot more boredom, which is a good thing, I think. So just lots of time where you're sitting there and you're stretching or you're reading a book or you're just sitting outside and you're not doing anything. And I think that's actually really good for us, and that we don't get enough of that in our culture. We're very on the go. We gotta have stimulation and entertainment at all times. And I think that's really unhealthy for us. And so having a little bit of boredom was actually kind of nice. It felt like I wasn't distracted and I wasn't just like mindlessly scrolling through something. I was just kind of alone with my thoughts. And I personally thought that was a good thing, but I understand that may not be for everyone. The second observation is I got a lot of reading done. I'm a very casual reader. I read at a fairly slow pace. But while I was there for the 5 days, I read I think it was like a 220 page book in about, yeah, and I guess I read it in the 5 days. And I was actually pacing myself because I was reading it so fast. I wanted to make sure I still had something to read near the end of my time there. I probably could have finished it in 3 or 4 days because I just had so much time. And that was actually nice. I got to enjoy reading quite a bit. And it was amazing how much more I enjoyed it when you didn't have a distraction of technology around. So that was really nice. I also got a lot of quiet time, which I really appreciated. I think that, as I've talked to people about my chronic fatigue, there's a lot of studies about how overstimulation, things like noise and screen time, can actually make your symptoms worse. And I personally have felt that quite a bit, especially with noise. And so having lots of quiet time was really beneficial for me. Now, another observation I made, obviously, was with all the boredom and downtime and quiet time, I did begin to miss my family pretty quick. It was nice to get away from the craziness of kids, but I also began to miss them really quick. And so, because there's no distractions, and I think when you're alone with your thoughts, you realize that, oh yeah, I do enjoy hanging out with my family. I mean, I've always known that, but it's it just became more evident. I was grateful for the opportunity, but I was also very grateful to come home and see my family again. What are some of the pros and some of the cons of my experience? I think the pros were there was definitely a lot of time of relaxation, significantly more than we get on a regular basis. And so that part was very nice. Just having that time to unwind and de stress was really cool. Having a more structured routine was actually really nice because although in my day to day life, obviously there is a generic routine, it's it's like, I guess, mundane, you could say, in a way. It's the normal routine. So being able to go somewhere and be very intentional about this is what I'm doing each and every day was very nice. And then having more time outside was really nice. I think that when you're at home and watching kids, it can be really hard. At least for me, like, we don't have a yard. It's hard to get time outside. And so it was nice to be able to just simply walk out the door and go out into the world. So I really appreciated that. There's a couple of cons I had as well. So the biggest con, I think, for me was trying to sleep in a different bed. And so it was a rest retreat, and my sleep was all right. Uh, some nights better than others. But anytime you sleep in a different bed, it's always a little hard. So that was difficult. One of the cons was being disconnected. This is kind of a pro and a con. So disconnected from technology is great to get a break, but also definitely felt like there were, texts coming in or phone calls coming in that I was missing. That part was a little hard. And then obviously the toll on my family, because while I was away for a week, we had lots of help from my parents and help from friends, just helping fill in my absence. That was definitely a con, and so very grateful to my family and my wife for allowing me to have the opportunity to do that. And so to wrap things up, what were my overall thoughts for the retreat? Generally speaking, I am really glad I did it. I thought it was a great opportunity just to get some time away. I will say this. I don't think I'll be doing it again anytime soon for lots of reasons. From the standpoint of my health, at least, we definitely didn't come away with any kind of miraculous recovery, which we weren't expecting. But I think we were at least hopeful that I would have some kind of measurable improvement. And I don't think we saw that in any way. I actually came back the night I came back. I was feeling a lot of my symptoms, lots of brain fog, lots of body shakes, and different things like that. And I think some of that had to do with the car ride back, because it was a little bit of a drive there and back. So I don't think that we got as much out of it as I was hoping, but I still think that it was good for me to get that time away, just to get some time to reflect on things. I had a lot of great support from family members while I was there. They wrote me letters and things, giving me encouragement. So definitely a positive experience still, for sure. So I guess to anyone watching, I would say that I think the idea of a rest retreat is really beneficial and probably something we all need. I think it's probably just a learning experience. You know, this is the first time I've done it. If I do it again in the future, maybe it would just be for like a day or something, just to have a quick refresh from time to time. But yeah, I think it was a good experience, and I would recommend it to anyone. I just think it's a kind of a once in a rare occasion kind of thing, once in a blue moon. All that to say is I had a very positive experience. I'm very grateful for the time I had, and if you're watching this and you're dealing with any kind of health issue, I would encourage you, if at all possible, to try and find some way to create some kind of space like this. And I recognize that not everyone can go somewhere and, have that kind of, several day getaway, but create whatever space you can at home, even if it's just talking to a spouse or a family member and seeing if someone could give you, 3 or 4 hours on one day to be very intentional. And I think that's the key word, is intentional about your time of rest, not just sitting on your phone and lying in bed, but trying to actually do things that will benefit your health in the long run would be my encouragement to you. All right. And if you stuck around to the end of this video, I just want to say thank you so much for your time and for sticking it out. I hope this was an encouragement to you. If you enjoyed the content we make on this channel, again, please feel free to give a smack to that like button, a ring-a-ding-ding to that notification bell, and maybe consider subscribing and sharing the content with your family and friends. And with that, take care of yourselves. God bless you, and we will see you in the next one.